Like many, I'd been a little on edge waiting to get an actual look at the new movie from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise, this time subtitled Mutant Mayhem. Announced a bit ago, the movie has been a bit of a mystery until just recently, when not only did we finally get a taste of the cast of the film, but we got a new teaser trailer showing off a lot of what the new Turtles are like.
Lob it up.
Stay still. Stay still.
Now.
TMNT has been an active franchise as of late. Ever since the CG animated series in 2012, which many consider one of the best of the franchise, Turtles has been a big part of the pop culture space. Mostly because of the franchise being owned by media channel Nickelodeon, who recognize TMNT as the powerhouse that it is and taking full advantage of it. This has resulted in a slew of new shows, in the form of Rise of TMNT, which is pretty controversial and is actually relevant to this very conversation. New games, including collections of the older games and new retro throwback games, as well as a ton of new toys that include the same type of mashups and crossover lines that we come to expect from the line, like the exceptional TMNT Universal Monster line. And don't get me started on the comics from IDW, which, although taking a big drop off on issue 100, is still ongoing with at least a good art style going for it, not to mention the TMNT Power Ranger comics, and the hit or miss Last Ronin. With Nickelodeon pushing more and more TMNT content, it was a no-brainer that they were going to get a new movie. Luckily, a new animated movie. But there seems to be a lot going around about the movie, now that more info is known about it. Now, the movie was steeped in a bit of controversy to start when it was first announced, since it was also announced that famous laugh-haver Seth Rogen was going to be producing the movie. This was one of the first things that was said about the film. Before we even had a cast, we were told that Seth Rogen was going to be producing the film. It was likely to get people excited about such a big name being attached to the project in some way. What they didn't realize is that a lot of people hate Seth Rogen. Now, that's not to say that everyone hates Seth Rogen. If you were to just see his movies, you might see him as another funny man who makes funny films. Although you might have gotten a bit sick of how many times you were seeing him in so many things. But that's beside the point. He is still a popular and well-known figure, and like so many successful actors, he's branching off into other things to expand his portfolio and grow his image. This is not the first time Seth Rogen has been a producer. He's produced many of his own films, as well as the highly successful Invincible and Boys TV series for Amazon. So when his name was brought up as a name attached to the new TMNT movie, people were worried. But this is mostly because people don't always know what a producer even does. It does not necessarily mean he has anything to do with the film itself, although in this case, it has translated at least in a starring role as a named character, that being Shredder henchman and famous pigman, Bebop. Apart from hearing that laugh of his in the film, there is very little to consider that his presence will affect anything else, being that he's not credited as writer or director. Those roles are instead filled by director Jeff Rowe, who previously co-directed the fantastic and underwatched animated film The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and writer Brendan O'Brien, who, I can admit, their previous credits as writer for the under-remembered films Neighbors and Neighbors 2, both of which are also previous Seth Rogen joints, is more than a bit concerning. However, when the new teaser dropped, showing us the first look at the new Turtles, it presented us with a fun little dynamic of the brothers acting like brothers and goofing off with their various ninja skills. It also showed off the animation style of the new film, which some have pointed out is very reminiscent of the smash hit Sony animated film Spider-Verse. Some have questioned why this and other films might be trying to replicate in some way the style of Spider-Verse for their animated action movies. It is honestly a mystery in my opinion, but we really need to move on to the main issue people seem to have with Mutant Mayhem, now that the actual teaser trailer has come out. Beyond certain casting choices, beyond the animation style, beyond Seth Rogen, and even beyond the weird criticism I've seen on Twitter that Donnie sounds too much like a girl. Let's talk about April O'Neil. When I originally watched the teaser, I didn't really pay attention to how April looked, and her new design. Probably because she was only fully visible on screen for like a second before cutting back to the Turtles, who of course are the real stars. But with the number of times that image has been shared on social media, it's hard not to notice now. Giving the design a good look, I can admit that she does look a bit like a potato. Very short and stout. But I guess the real question regarding this is, why does it really matter? Sure, April in most of her incarnations has been a bit slimmer, mostly because she was always a part of the action in some regard. But does April need to look like this if she is still a good character and companion for the Turtles? This is really one of those instances that requires a more wait-and-see approach, for me at least. However, this has not stopped the normal outlets from making a ton of videos outraged about the fact that April is now both fat and black, making it extra weird as they mention her being black being a major negative point. Especially when you consider that this is not the first time April has been race swapped in this way. On a side note, I don't care about race swaps for the most part, as long as they're not lazy ones like the recent instances of live-action Domino from Deadpool 2 and Starfire from Titans. These instances are lazy because they make sure to drop other aspects of the character's look, Domino's pale skin and Starfire's orange skin, in order to emphasize the fact that they have cast a black actress to play the part, essentially making them just a token higher instead of the best person for the job. And Zazie did make a great Domino. It's just stupid that they needed to lose her iconic look and give her an afro so you would not forget the fact that she's black. I mean, how else were you supposed to know this otherwise? Back on topic, the real issue is that these outrage merchants are also bringing up other people who are bringing back the old chestnut of, well, April O'Neil used to be black in the comics. I want to stress something. I don't care about this race swap, but to argue that it's okay because she was like that in the comics is just willfully ignorant, and is an argument made by those who have never actually read the comics. While it is true that April was portrayed as black in the comics before this, her original debut was in the second ever issue of TMNT. Original meaning the old black and white printings. And it's very painfully obvious that she's not black, especially since she appears beside the also debuting Baxter Stockman. Again, I want to stress, I don't care about the race swap aspect. This is just something to point out because the same type of Fairweather fans trying to own another set of Fairweather fans needs to be addressed. Bottom line, we are still in a very early stages of this movie. It's not coming out till August. We've not even heard or seen many of the other mutants that have been announced as being part of the cast from the previous announcements, including the odd choice to gender bend Leatherhead, rather than putting in one of the other many female mutants that already exists. But I, for one, will hold my full judgment of the movie until I see something that matters and gives me real reason to be nervous. Until then, I suppose I'll continue to be ignored by fans trying to own each other for a movie and a franchise they don't actually care about or even know anything about. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you'll give this video a like if you enjoyed it, comment about what you think about the situation, and above all, I hope you'll subscribe to more content. My name is The One Nerd, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.